Joining us for more on this is journalist Francis Hills. Good to have you join us on World Now. Let me begin by getting your take on the strategies being deployed by the Pakistani government to shut loyalists of Imran Khan up from advocating his release.
Yes, well, I think it's very important to see everything in context and how this all came about. When I first heard that there was basically a political coup backed by the military in Pakistan to remove Imran Khan at a time when he refused to follow American foreign policy on sanctions on both Russia and China, it appeared obvious to anyone who was paying attention that this was indeed an American-inspired coup in order to remove a democratically elected leader of Pakistan. A man who had a huge mandate, a huge personal following, and was putting the interests of the Pakistan people before American foreign policy. And it reminded me of in 2013, on the 3rd of July, when Sisi, who was a military commander in the Egyptian army, through a military coup backed again by America and, in this case, Israel, removed Morsi, the first democratically elected president in Egyptian history, not in decades, and he was subsequently put in jail and allowed to die. So what we have had is American foreign influence in the democratic internal structures of Pakistan that resulted in the removal of power of Imran Khan. These false charges, which are very reminiscent to President Trump. I'm not a fan of Trump, but look at the lawfare that was used. They tried to bring all these false prosecutions against him, to criminalise him in order to prevent him running in the 2024 elections, which he has won overwhelmingly. So Imran Khan is a political prisoner within the Pakistan military, political, judicial structures. And the people that are marching for democracy. They're marching for the release of their democratically elected leader, and they're demanding justice and freedom and the right of the people of Pakistan to decide who will lead their country, who will be elected, who will have a mandate, and not have Americans and others from the outside meddling in internal Pakistan politics.
As these authorities have actually put the Pakistani capital under lockdown, they are blocking highways, they are suspending mobile and internet services in certain areas. Will this be strong enough to dissuade the protesters?
No, because the protesters have a righteous cause. They believe that they're fighting on behalf of democracy. They believe that they are fighting against a political military coup in their country, which does not represent them and does not have a mandate. So people will find a way to gather in Islamabad, in the centre. But the very fact that the military is trying to stop people 40 kilometres from Islamabad from reaching the capital proves that this is a quasi-military state that wants to stop public displays of democratic freedom of assembly. If there's nothing to fear, the people intend to be peaceful. Any violence will come from the state and from the police. We'll try and demonise the demonstrators and say, you see, these people came here, they looted shops, they created violence, we have to protect the state. Where in effect what they're doing is protecting the establishment and denying the democratic rights of the people. And the people, ultimately, in the end, in their thousands and in their millions, they will hopefully force the government to back down. But that's not an easy thing to do, and sadly I see many people being hurt, and many people being brutalised, many people being arrested, and I hope there are no deaths, but it's a hope that I think is not something that we can rely on.
All right. And, despite his incarceration, Imran Khan appears to still wield a lot of influence in Pakistan. Do you consider this a threat to the current government?
The only threat to the current government is democracy. It's not about Imran Khan per se. It's not about his personality. It's not about his celebrity status as an icon of the Pakistan cricket team. This is a simple division between democracy and authoritarian rule. It's a difference between having your own sovereign independent nation with your own sovereign independent foreign policy, or being a puppet regime working on behalf of American corporations, the American military-industrial complex, and in the interest of American foreign policy. Every country that is sovereign must have its own dedicated foreign policy, which is brought about through the political policies of the government elected by people. You cannot have countries like America and Britain and others having exerting influence and sanctions and creating a space that allows military political coups to take place in your country, because then you're not sovereign, you're not democratic, the people in charge do not have a mandate from the people. You're simply a subservient ally to the Americans in their war against other sovereign nations in the world.
And, still talking about democracy, as it is, Mr. Khan's wife, Bushra Bibi, is actually one of those leading these protests. And she insists that protesters will not stop until her husband is released. Do you see the state bowing to that pressure?
No, because it's not a democratic state. And states that aren't democratic use authoritarian policies. They use the police and they use the military in order to subjugate and suppress legal and democratic dissent within the country. So, no, they're not going to back down. And I don't think the protesters are going to back down either. So you're going to have this catch-22 when you have two opposing sides that are determined to see their side of the equation win. So the only way the state can win is by using brutality and violence against its own citizens. So if the state wins and they want to keep Imran Khan in custody, they will have to beat the people off the street, they will have to drag the people off the jail, and we all know what happens when people fall under the arms of the Pakistani military and the SAS and others who will torture, brutalise, maim and potentially murder people who dissent democratically and legally with free speech, with free assembly against the draconian nature of the state.
So it does look like a long journey ahead. We'll wait to see how it all pans out. Journalist Francis Hughes, thank you so much for your time on World Now.